parents. Have you ever heard anything creepy or unexplainable through your baby monitor? I actually have a picture from my baby's monitor that creeped the hell out of me one day when I checked on her during her nap. It looks like a skull with glowing eyes laying in her crib. It was actually a toy car with a plastic bubble across the top and the infrared was reflecting off of it. Yeah. That wasn't creepy or anything. I would have been charging in there with a fixed bayonet. I hate baby monitors. This thread confirms my suspicions that baby monitors are nothing but portals into hell. Damn freaking right. Does that make babies the keymaster? Are you the gatekeeper? Are you the keymaster? That I know of. Slam. When my daughter was about 8 months old, I was in her bedroom cleaning while she was playing in her crib. I had her monitor turned down. But when I noticed the red lights moving, signaling noise, I turned it up. I heard, plain as day, a child screaming something along the lines of "I'm sorry. No. Please no." The worst part is that I could actually hear him being hit. Not slapped, but seriously beat. I lived in a heavily populated area of Pittsburgh, so there was no telling where this was happening. I grabbed my dog Thur and ran outside anyway, hoping to hear the child scream from an apartment or house so I could call the police. But I couldn't zero in on it. Such a horrible feeling. Not being able to stop this poor child from being beat. I never looked at any of my neighbors the same. The ghost stories don't bother me. But that is horrifying. That would surely haunt me for a good while. I used to babysit 2 kids. And they each had a video monitor that picked up sound. I put them to bed and was sitting downstairs doing homework. And I thought they were both asleep because it had been like a half hour since I had put them in bed. And neither kid was shifting around anymore. It was silent except for their breathing through the monitors. It was pitch black outside and the parents wouldn't be home for another couple of hours. All of a sudden I heard a little kid's voice singing. I couldn't tell what the voice was saying, but it sounded really creepy. I looked at the monitors, and neither kid had moved. Went up to their rooms and checked on them both. Apparently the younger one, 3 years old, would sing to himself when he couldn't sleep. And his mom didn't tell me that. He was laying perfectly still singing softly. And I nearly shit myself when I heard it through the monitor. Edit. I can't format. That's incredibly adorable but completely terrifying to live through. Terrifying. Yes. It was creepy when it happened until I figured out what it was. I have a son and he wasn't even talking yet when I heard the alphabet sung by a girl through his monitor. It scared me and I went and got my sister and we sat there and heard it again. We live across the street from a daycare. It was creepy until I remembered that. Yeah, a haunted daycare with a little girl that died there. Baby breathing heavy all of a sudden. That's the worst feeling. Yes. Scared the shit out of me when I would babysit. This isn't something I heard from my kid's room. But it was something creepy heard over a baby monitor. I did at-home care for a little while. And there was this one client I had a couple of years ago. The lady I assisted had dementia. And she was just at the point where the good days were fading. We had a baby monitor in her room so we could hear when she was waking up. I'll go ahead and mention that we also had bells pinned to her sheets so that when she was trying to get up on her own fall risk we would hear the bells jingle. It was common to hear her down in her room talking to that man. Asking, "Who are you? And what is it?" To an empty room. One evening her and I were in the living room together by ourselves. And I heard the bells start jingling on their own over the baby monitor. There was no ceiling fan. The AC/heat wasn't running. No windows were open. I always had bad feelings in her house. With things like cabinets opening and one really creepy time where it sounding like footsteps coming down the hallway, which really scared me. I'm honestly glad I will never have to go into that house again. There is something terrifying about the idea of having dementia and being able to see ghosts because of it. That would be a confusing place to be. I was at a friend's house one night, and she was putting her little boy to bed. Her baby monitor had a camera built in and was installed at the foot of the crib. She also had one of those mattress sensors in the crib. Well, we are sitting down, watching a movie, and the receiver for the monitor is on the coffee table in front of us. The sound sensor spikes and the screen goes white. She picks it up, and all you can make out on the screen is an eerie face. We go running into the room and her kid is sound asleep. We look around and don't see anything strange. So we go back to the movie. About 10 minutes later, the same thing happens. I get up quietly and sneak into his room, while she stays on the couch. I catch the kid standing up in his crib, with his face right up against the monitor. He is smiling like crazy and giggling. He looks over at me and quickly lays down and acts like he is asleep. I let her know what's up, and she laughs it off. A few nights later she tells me the same thing happened to the monitor, but her boy was sitting on the couch next to her at the time. Just when I thought it was going to end on a normal note. Jesus. Solution: there are identical twins and one of them is always hiding at any single moment. This is all the setup to an amazing magic trick way in the future. Were you watching closely? I'll just get Tesla to make me a cloning machine. Back when all baby monitors transmitted on 49 MHz, I used to talk to them with a higher powered radio I modified to transmit on those same frequencies. I'm sure some parent freaked out over that. I was a weird kid. All other stories explained by this. Okay. In early 1990, I worked for a volunteer-based security group. We didn't have a radio license for real walkie-talkies yet, so we had a set of headsets that worked off some common household frequencies. These frequencies were used for child's walkie-talkies, cheap cordless phones, drive-through speakers, baby monitors, and such. During an outdoor distance test, I picked up some lady's cordless phone where she talked about gross medical stuff, but she couldn't hear us to get her to stop. So while testing a battery replacement, I picked up a two-way baby monitor in a nearby apartment. There was a baby fussing and the sound of some woman doing dishes. "I'll be right there, hon," the woman said. On a whim, I pushed talk on my headset, and said with a loud, demonic voice, "Feed me." Then I heard the shattering of dishes. That was hilarious when I was 21. But after reading this, I feel bad. Sorry, lady stranger. It's very possible that every time she has looked at her kid she's had a belief in the back of her mind that her baby is possessed. While she doesn't honestly believe it to be so, she wouldn't be completely shocked if the kid's eyes turned black and it started crawling around on the ceiling. Oh god damn it, Billy, get down from there. That boy ain't right. That boy needs therapy. Heard a strange hissing noise at 3:30 am through the monitor and our movement pad went off. Walked into the room and he was fast asleep. He proceeded to wake up the next morning and tell me that for the last few sleeps he has been picked up and flown to a place in Ireland where his 6 brothers and sisters live. He's managed to name them and they remain the same each time I ask him about it. Safe to say me and his mother are slightly scared. This reminds me of a corrupt Peter Pan. So normal Peter Pan then? My daughter's toys coming on by themselves. When she was little. Less than a year old. I've always blamed it on faulty batteries because that is what keeps me from pissing my pants. Hopefully this fits well enough because it was a baby monitor that set it off. Okay. So my daughter is now almost 2 and has long since moved into her own room. We have one of those video monitor things where you can see/hear the baby on this little TV thing, or you can turn the picture off and just get sound. So one night maybe a month ago I'm sitting in bed, scrolling through Reddit or something, and I start hearing my daughter babbling to herself. Now, it's really late. Like 1 or 2 in the morning. Much later than she is ever awake unless something is wrong and she is sick or cutting a tooth or something. So I turn the picture on the monitor on and see her standing up in her crib facing sort of diagonally away from the camera. I can see her hands in front of her but only like half of her face. Now is a good time to mention that we have been teaching her ASL since she was about 3 months old, and she has been responding and conversing in signs since about 10 months. I can see her signing things like nice and silly and fun and oddly enough. No. Don't like and bear. Of course, being the good and loving mother I am and really not wanting to deal with an overly sleepy baby in the morning, I get up to see what the heck she is doing. When I get to her room, she is still standing up and signing/babbling towards the far corner of her room. I ask her what she is doing and who she is talking to, and she signs/says as best as she can friend, which she does with her whole hands and not just her index fingers, and signs bear again. I tell her that no. See, Bear, who is actually one of her stuffed toys, is in bed behind her, not in the corner of the room, but she just giggles at me and signs/says silly and mommy. I can see she is wide awake, so I sit down in the rocker next to her bed and try to figure out what woke her up, but all she will tell me is friend and bear, and occasionally duck down like she is hiding and making shhh noises. I finally get fed up and ask her who friend bear is, and her response literally gave me chills because she doesn't speak well yet, but she managed to say very clearly and with the most serious face a 20-month-old can pull off. No name. No name. SHHHHH. Well, now I am well and truly freaked out, so I tell her to ask no name friend bear to go home because it is too late to play, and I did what any good loving mother would do. I gave her a pacifier, went back to my room, turned off the monitor entirely, and hid under the overs in my room where my good and loving husband would protect me from nameless invisible bears. Probably the best story here. Imo. What's it like to teach an infant ASL? I've never heard of it, and it sounds fascinating to be able to communicate with your child like that. Thank you. We actually used the Baby Signing Time DVDs, which we actually found at our local library, to start the teaching, and she picked up on it really quickly. Once it clicked in her brain that opening and closing her hand at me meant that she was given milk, she seemed to realize that all the weird hand movements mommy and daddy were doing at her meant something. We just got into the habit of using any signs we knew when we said the words, and she picked it right up. It's been really great. I really don't know what we would do without it. From pretty much 10 months on, she has been able to communicate basic needs like that she is hungry or sleepy or thirsty. She has a vocabulary of about 150 signs she uses all the time now, and it really helps because not all of her verbal words are understandable or distinguishable from other similar sounding words yet, but I can understand and actually converse with her with the signs to help translate what her verbal words are. I really recommend it to anyone who has a baby. Teaching babies sign language is apparently just now starting to really catch on. It's been used for a while with children who are deaf obviously, and children who have physical and mental impairments that make it difficult for them to communicate verbally with tons of success. A child can begin to sign as early as 8 months but won't be able to speak usually until around 2. Now at almost 2 years old she can tell me what she wants for breakfast or lunch, when she wants her nap, what toy she wants out of the box, if she is mad or sad or scared by something and what that something is, and all sorts of other things she could not communicate to me if she had to rely on verbal communication alone. It's also supposed to help with language skills later in life. But the thing that I find most fascinating is how early she could clearly understand what we were saying. Even if she couldn't verbalize back at us, and make the connections she needed to use the appropriate signs in response. We assume that little babies don't understand what we are doing or saying because they can't talk back to us, but they really do seem understand and pick up most of the conversations around them. Edit because everyone seems pretty interested in teaching ASL to kids. You can actually find some of the episodes on Netflix if you just search for Signing Time. It used to come on PBS, but they couldn't produce episodes fast enough to keep in on air. We also found both the baby Signing Time and the original Signing Time DVDs at our local library. They also have resources on their website to help find instructors in your area that are vetted by them. If you are gonna teach ASL to your baby or older child, I would highly recommend doing it with the Signing Time program because it is real ASL that your child will be learning. It's amazing how young the brain begins to pick that up. Coolest thing I've heard about in a while. Thanks for sharing.